Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Lauren. So in today's video, I just wanted to go on ahead and show you guys how I plan and organize my life. We've kind of talked about in this series how it's about gaining control back of your life and making your dream life happen now. Of course, doing it within reason, because there are some aspects of our life that we can't and we shouldn't be able to control. So if you're watching this and you feel like your life is spinning out of control, or you're sitting on the other side of that screen and you're realizing you don't have your life together in the way that you want to, then this video is for you. And I just want to go on ahead and mention this. I've already mentioned this in another video, but I did hear somewhere that actually a good amount of people don't have life plans. I don't think you need a life plan. This video isn't to try and get you to become a planner if you're not already a planner. This is just for people who feel like they have no control over their life, or they don't know where their life is going, to kind of give you support and to give you a choice to think about the way you want your life to be and how you can get there. I just want to also say that I did post my ChatGPT life planning video before this. So either before or after you're done watching this, if you're following these instructions, I would highly recommend also watching that video, because I think that we learned some really valuable things through testing out that TikTok trend of trying to get ChatGPT to like fix your life or you know, get you to your dream life, or write out your dream life and give you ways to get there. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Step one is to write everything down. So this is going to be like a brainstorm, brain dump type of list. The brain dump part is going to be all the little specific things you need to do. So think like checking your car insurance or getting a new doctor, whereas the brainstorm part are going to be things that you want to do or things that you need to improve and habits that you want to implement into your life. One of my favorite ways to look at this when I'm trying to do it, because I can often get overwhelmed by how many things are floating in my head, is to think about it in terms of life aspects. Okay, so before we move on to the next step, I just want to explain a little bit about what life aspects are, because I'm going to be talking a lot about that in this video, and I've never really seen anybody else talk about it that I can remember, but I'm sure I'm not the first person to come up with this, and I've definitely used my own fair share of inspiration from online to help me come up with this method. So when we're talking about life aspects, we're talking about all the different sub areas of your life, and we're going to go through them all so that way we are able to figure out what our goals are for each aspect and we don't end up missing anything. So I'm going to go on ahead and include in the description a little Google Doc that has this all broken down for you, but I just wanted to kind of get a chance to share with you what each of the individual aspects I use in organization are. So for me, that includes environment, work, relationships, finances, hobbies, personal growth, health, self-care, mental health, spiritual health, habits, personal projects, personal goal specifics, and seasonal goals. The next step is you're going to decide how to organize your life. I do want to say, if you haven't done this already, I would go back and check out some of my other old videos to give you a perspective of what you want your dream life and dream future to look like. In one of the videos, I talk about dream life visualization meditation, and I think that that is really important. And in one of my other videos, I use ChatGPT to map out my future dream life, and that will help us a lot in this step. So I highly recommend going to check those out and do those activities if you haven't already. Hey, it's Lauren, just popping back in here to explain the difference between the big picture and the details, because that is what we're going to look into breaking down right now. Basically, the big picture is the overall, let's say, story of your life, whereas the details are kind of the everyday steps that get you to either the end or make up the bigger picture. So we're talking about smaller goals and habits when we're talking about the details, and the bigger picture is those bigger goals that you're making strides towards every day. So you're going to want to find two different ways to organize those things. And you're going to want to take into consideration when you're viewing those items, so that way you can pick the best organization method for you. Maybe the best thing for you for your big plan is to put it all in Google Docs, and then every day you just sit down with a physical planner, and that is your details. Maybe you're somebody who likes Notion, so you put both the big picture and the details in Notion. Maybe you're somebody who likes to write on paper and type on a keyboard. Maybe you're doing a combination of that. Maybe you're somebody who just wants it all on the computer. Maybe you're somebody who just wants it all physically written out. So it really is up to you, and there's so many different things you can do. For the brainstorming, maybe you wrote it all down, and then for writing out the big picture to actually fill it in, because this is what this step is we're actually filling big picture in. We're taking the brainstorming, brain dumping aspect and using it to fill in the bigger picture, and then we're going to use our brains, our lovely, beautiful brains, to fill in the rest of everything that we want. And we're kind of going to use this idea that, I don't know if I came up with it, maybe somebody else has, but I consider it just a list of life aspects that can help me jog my memory, run down things, and make me visualize things that I kind of don't think about, because I think sometimes when we think of our future life, we either A, get really overwhelmed and don't even know where to start, or what all we have to think about, or B, we forget things. So this just will help you think of things that you didn't even think of by listing it all out. And then wherever you save it is going to be that place that you are going to like check in with yourself. And this check-in is completely up to you. You could check in every day on the big picture. The point of having the details versus the big picture is that way you don't have to do that, but if you wanted to, you could. I just like to have it and use it as needed whenever I'm doing like a life planning day or thinking about making a bigger life decision, because I can go back to it and be like, okay, what did I want out of this? Where did I want to be? And so say for example, by the time I'm 45, I wanted to be at a certain level in an industry. So I wanted a certain title at a company. I would probably break down that bigger goal into everyday steps I could achieve, which might look like one day I am signing up for a new online course to get a certificate. On another day, I'm signing up for a conference that I should go attend, that where I can get more information. On another day, like I'm doing freelance to build up my skills and make my resume look even better for when I eventually am going to get to that point in my company that I work for, or a future company that I will work for down the line. So that's kind of the idea between the big picture and the small picture, and why planning it, the medium that you use, is kind of completely up to you. You can really do whatever you want. Okay, now that I have my life planning, life aspects sheet filled out, itemized everything that I could possibly think of that I would want to organize my life, and then created subsections for those things. I am a big fan of Notion, so I'm going to go ahead and take all of these things and copy and paste it into my Notion site. Step 4 is going to be working on the details. So I want you to go through your list and break down each of those goals you wrote under each life aspect title and break it down into something more achievable, such as steps or mini goals, everyday things that you can do. You could even try adding weekly, daily, monthly, etc. routines. Finally, you're going to do your best to implement them every single week. I highly recommend figuring out a routine that works for you to keep your life focused and centralized, while also reminding you of what your personal beliefs are. So if you are somebody like me who's really looking for that mindfulness, it may feel like you're taking up time worrying about your future in the now, but I think it just can really help also act as a reminder to stay mindful in the present and to focus on making memories now. My number one tip for this is to not beat yourself up if you're not able to stay on top of those goals. You'll have some weeks that are better than others. Okay, we are towards the end of this video, but I just wanted to share to you how this actually looks implemented in my life, because you might be like, great, I have all of this organized written out. What do I do with it now? And I think that's another thing that's really up to you. As I showed in the video, I made wallpapers for my phone so that way I can have a little reminder every day of kind of like what I'm supposed to get done every day. It is kind of 50-50 with helping, but it's definitely a lot better than on those days where I kind of forget what I'm supposed to do, having to break out something like go into a notebook or go on. It's definitely a lot easier to just look at my phone than it is to break out a notebook where I wrote everything down, or to go online and search it all up, because I have my phone on me at most times. So it's really just what works for you. Maybe you use the reminders app in your phone and you want to go on ahead and figure out a way to implement them there. Whatever works for you is what you should use. So that being said, I wanted to show you guys how I do it. So first of all, I'm going to share how I plan the whole entire thing for myself, because like I said, there's multiple different ways you can do it, but if you are interested in how I do it, here it is, and that will also explain how I implement it into my life. But like I said, there's multiple different ways to do it, and I know that because I've tried multiple different ways throughout the years. Some of them work, some of them don't, but it really just is all about finding what works for you. So the first thing I do is I brainstorm on paper, which is what I shared, and I really recommend brainstorming on paper. That is like the number one first thing. Just get all of your thoughts down on paper, writing. And then I use a Google Doc to assess all of the life aspects and fill in all those things that I missed and didn't get to think about. For me, I love using Notion lately. I just decided to take all of the information that I had typed out into a Google Doc and put it in my Notion and organize it. So that way it's really easily accessible and I can go to the Notion app on my phone or on my laptop anytime I want to look at those bigger picture details. For the smaller details, I also decided to put those on Notion. Like I said, I also added them as a wallpaper on my phone. So my routine is to just sit down one day a week. I haven't picked a specific day yet that I've been able to keep up with, but I do sit down and plan out my week almost every single week. So for me, I like to physically write that down in a notebook. I love to use a method that I started using when I was in college, where I write out the week at the top, where I break everything down by life responsibilities or life aspects. So when I was in college, I would do courses and I color code them. And so I would have, like history, all those things. And then I would put the homework underneath, and I like to use little circles so that way I can go back in and check them off later, because I have ADHD and I need that extra boost of dopamine. Now that I'm kind of post-grad and I have a lot more time to focus on my life, also other little projects I want to work on, those titles have, the way that I break it down is by, like I said, life responsibilities and life aspects. For me, I really want to try and prioritize spending more time on my hobbies, so I've made that a section, but it's really up to you, and I don't follow it to a T. Like, I don't have a section for every single life aspect because it just gets too out of control. I will usually just do little jobs that like little projects that I'm working on. So it might be my social media, it might be me doing job applications, but then I also put down things like my hobbies, like I said, because I want to focus more on doing my hobbies, and a seasonal section because, like I mentioned, that's really important for me. I want to try and embrace the seasons more so I can actually tell the difference between the parts of the year and the parts of my life when I'm going back to think about what I did in a year. So for each kind of section, I do 2 to 3 goals under each of them. This is another reason why I like to minimize the sections that I do have the number of them, because 2 to 3 goals for each section is a lot when you add that up to get done. When I keep my life simple, but it just gives me a few goals to focus on throughout the week. And when I say goals, I mean actual tangible goals that I can check off my list. I don't mean learning more about this. I mean like doing one lesson in this online course would be what I would write down, not learning more about that. I want them to be very specific. If you know anything about SMART goals, it's not entirely like that. I mean, maybe it is, but I just remember that from when I was in school. So definitely more achievable goals and more specific, because there are so many. On more motivated weeks, it's a goal to get them all checked off of my list and we're all good and ready to move on to the next week. But then on lazier weeks, where I know it's going to be a little bit harder for me to get everything done, it's more of just an outline to keep me on track and remind me of all of my responsibilities. And I don't put as much pressure on myself to get absolutely everything done, and I will just rewrite it. I will move it over to the next page that I do to make sure I'm still getting it done within a reasonable timeline. But that is how I minimize burnout or attempt to stop it. That's actually another thing I really want to learn more about in this series is burnout. So maybe I will do a video on that soon. Like I said, this can also be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. I'm using a ton of different ways to plan things, but you could literally just do everything on Notion, like I said before. But I like to use a calendar app sometimes. Like I said, it depends on if it's a more motivational week or if it's a week where I'm feeling a little bit lazier. Like if I'm just had a really busy week the week before and I give myself some grace on that. I like to take my weekly outline and then I will add each thing in as as a time block throughout my week or pick a day of the week to focus on. And it just helps me stay on track. Instead of having a long running to-do list that I can never seem to complete, it just gives me a few things to focus on every single day. And I feel like this routine has been really good for me, especially because on days where I don't have that, on days where I'm not checking my notebook, where I'm not checking my Notion, I find myself, without even telling myself to do it, I will go through my head and make a list of like, okay, these are all the things, the non-negotiable goals that I need to focus on today. I will force myself to get them done. Especially if I have ADHD, I kind of make my own timeline. So I'm like, I need to have this done by the end of the day, basically, or else. I don't know. But that's kind of how I plan my life on a more realistic outlook. The other thing that I do, going back to the routines and talking about them being on my phone, is those are different. I do not use those as my goal focuses for the day. Those are just the little steps that accomplish the goals that I've set for myself. Like if a goal for my future life is that I am somebody who is organized and keeps spaces clean, I have a 20-minute cleanup nightly thing on my routine that I will try to keep up with, but it won't be considered a goal for the day. It won't go on the to-do list. It'll just kind of become essentially like an automated task, I guess you can call it. Though I haven't been really good about specific habit, because the important thing I want you to take away from this video is that we are building and building to get there, right? We're building our dream life. It's not going to happen instantly. It's not going to happen overnight, but we're building our dream life, and we're also being kind with ourselves, right? So if one week you don't get things done on your routine or you don't get your goals done, don't beat yourself up about it. Just get back up and keep on trying. And eventually you will find that like once you have one habit under control, you can have another habit, and then you can start working on that, and then you have that under control. So now you have 2 habits under control, and then you can work on the 3rd. You know, that is kind of the way that I work. I am somebody who's really impulsive and wants things to happen now, but it's important to be realistic with yourself, because otherwise you can disappoint yourself or lose hope and get into a spiral, which is something I'm reminding myself of, to be more kind to myself. So yeah, that's kind of everything. I put a lot of effort into filming this video, so I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope it was helpful to someone, and I hope it made sense. There were a lot of moving elements going on, and I could do videos in the future breaking them down if that's necessary, but I just kind of wanted to get it all out there because I feel like every aspect attaches to itself. Like you would have to do this to do that. And I tried to make it as simple as possible. I'm actually going to go on ahead and link a life aspect doc down below that you can use to help plan your life. So maybe you can do it along with me, like while you're watching this video, maybe just throw on some background music and fill in your life aspect sheet. And even if you don't get it all done today, hey, at least you have a sheet to work with, and then you can do all these other steps going forward, or maybe find another way that works for you. Like I said, this is just what works for me, so I wanted to share it, especially because I have ADHD. This is for all my ADHD girlies out there. It can be hard, and I just wanted to make something to help you guys out a little bit. Start taking notes right now. Like you don't even have to use my link. I just want you to start, and I want you to feel like you're also having more control of your life, and I want you to make steps today to work towards building your dream life. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Go ahead and subscribe for more content like this. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Be safe and have fun.